So I was arrested in my highest self in this very moment, thinking about what I truly believe. Do I really believe in God as a big man in the sky, Jehovah, Olodumare, uh, Olarun? Do I believe God to be Jesus? Do I believe God to be self? And other selves? Do I believe God to be human? Do I believe God to be the universe, the sun, the animals? Do I believe God to be all, right? And so a lot of times we only perceive God a certain way and in a limited way because of the influence of others, right? And so we take on other people's perceptions of God and not really thinking about what God is to us. And I was sitting here thinking, self, do you believe God to really be a big man in the sky now that you've transitioned from uh, a religious mindset and you see God as all, you see God as self, right? And a lot of times what we do is we change our minds instead of allowing increase to expand our minds. And so I really had to think with the expansion of my mind and not the decrease of my mind. Okay, I had to think without taking away uh, anything, okay, without taking away any of my perceptions, right? And so I used to perceive God as a big man in the sky that's just, moving people around as checkers, but that was incomplete for me. And it's hard to have a close and personal relationship with God if your relationship with God and your perception of God is incomplete, right? And so I transitioned over to believing that God is not this big man in the sky, but God is self, right? And that transition did not set well with me because I had to really pay attention to the fact that I still truly believe in God as the big man in the sky. And so I was thinking about that, but how? How could that be? Right? How can God be both self? How can God be universe? And how can God be also this big man in the sky uh, governing everyone and everything and every place? And so what came to mind was that God created self as people, places, and things. That's why a lot of people believe that, everything has a spirit. You can talk to your car and say, please move. When it shuts down on you, you're talking to the spirit of God that is of that car. Many of us believe that, God is self. Many of us believe that God is, the animals. We believe God in different ways and have different perspectives of God, but sometimes it's so limited, and every time we get a new perspective of God, we feel like we have to throw away the old perspective of God. And to me, that is decrease and not increase. You have to allow new information and new enlightenment to add increase to your cup, right? To pour into your cup of knowledge and awareness instead of uh, taking new information and making your cup empty in order to receive that information. How about we make our cups overflow with information? And so I started to think of God only as um, one thing or the other when I was in the mindset of decrease, right? So when I really decided to tap into what I really believe, I began to envision God as uh someone, I want to say for lack of better terms, it's hard to really take your enlightenment and put it into words that limit the bigness, the vastness, okay, of reality. But I started to see God in my mind's eye and my strong eye as this entity, this energy that is all, right? Omnipresent, who created self as people, places, and things, and also as this big man in the sky, okay, um, to govern everything that was created from self, right? As God in the sky. And so God decided, okay, I'm going to be this big man in the sky governing all of myself, everything, every person. God is able to um, govern us and govern the universe and govern all that was created because it was created from God's own body, right? Because God was able to create everyone and everything from God's own body, God is able to govern everything and everyone from the whole God body. Okay? And so God placed self, okay, in the sky as this big man in the sky, and many of us perceive or call God different names. You know, some of us are more comfortable with the term I am. Some of us are more comfortable with the name Jehovah. Some of us are more comfortable with the name Olodumare. Some of us are comfortable with, just saying that God is Jesus. God brought himself as the only begotten son down here to die for our sins. God, some different people are comfortable with perceiving God as different things. You know what I'm saying? And God being in us, believing that God is in us, helps us to understand that although God is a big man in the sky, God is also all things and all people. Okay? God is everything that has ever been created, because everything that's ever been created was created from self as God. But God needed a way to allow self to govern everything that God decided to create from self, right? And so you can say that God started off as a man and created himself as a woman. You can say that God started as a woman and created self as a man. I believe there was no sex and God created sexes, in order to bring the two different sexes together, to produce, And so, yeah, that was kind of interesting trying to intellectualize that. But it made me feel so good to really sit down and say, self, what do you really believe about God? How do you really see God? Are you hypocritical when you say that God is self, but then you get on your knees and you pray to God as this big man in the sky? Are you hypocritical when you believe in God as one thing, but then you call on Jesus? And after examining self, I realized I'm innocent. I realized that I am I am far away from the concept of being hypocritical. My cup is overflowing with enlightenment when it comes to my perspective of God. And I don't have to allow anyone's small perspective to decrease my perspective when it comes to God. I believe in all things, and that's why I refer to myself as Omni Keys. Okay? Because I believe in all perspectives when it comes to the God body. Okay? I believe that God is all, omnipresent, present in and as all. Okay, so if you believe that God is a big man in the sky, you would be correct. If you believe that God is self, God is not only self. If you believe that God is universe, God is not only universe. Okay, if you believe in God as Bast, which is, this deity, um, uh, I forgot which deity it is, but Bast is, you know, is like a cat, right? A cat god. Some people believe in God as an elephant. Some people believe in God as, different things, but I believe that all is true. All of our perspectives of God is true, whether we perceive it as good or evil, dark or light. All of the perspectives that's been introduced to us is true. And so it is okay to be influenced by others when it comes to our perspective, but don't allow your belief to be pushed aside based on the influence of others. Allow the influence of others to add increase to your cup so that your cup of awareness is overflowing and there is never any decrease. Okay. And so if anybody got what I'm trying to say here, it's probably because my message and my testimony is reminding you that God is all. Okay. If it's anything I'm saying right now is resonating with you, it is because you're being reminded of what you already knew and what you already know. Okay. That's what enlightenment is. Enlightenment is remembering. It's not, oh, it's not the concept of being told something that you don't remember. I mean, it's not the concept of being told something new. There is nothing new under the sun. And if there's nothing new under the sun, that means that we are all experiencing a big fat life of reminding us of who we are, not only as self, but as God. And that's why I am comfortable with the concept of referring to God as I am, because I never ever want ever again someone's interpretation of God to decrease my own deity, to decrease my perception of God as self. Okay? I believe that I am God. I believe that God is me. I believe that God is in me, and is all around me. I am God, and all of my other selves is God. And when I say other selves, it's the concept or universal law of inclusion. God includes all as self. And so, yeah, if you find that these are pearls, beloved, pick them up and rock them. Don't trample them. Only pigs trample pearls. And even though pigs also, I believe, is God, because everything and everyone and every animal is made in the image of God, right? But it is up to us whether we want to be the aspect of God that tramples pearls, or do we want to be the aspect of God that wears them and rocks them. You feel me? And so it's entirely up to you. Okay? So let me know how you perceive God. You can leave a comment and let me know how you perceive God. And I encourage you to consider that how you perceive God is not the only way to perceive God, because God is omnipresent. God is all. Okay? There's a little bit of truth. There's a little. That's why I said a lot of the revelations that we get, the downloads we get, the enlightenment that we get is only part truth. When we come together and allow our individual part truths that is locked in the kingdom of God within us, then we become cups that overflow with enlightenment and awareness, reminding us of what we already know about God and what and who God is. So yeah, pick up these pearls and rock them. It's your choice though, but I'm going to command it. Pick these pearls up and rock them. If you believe that this message is going to hug up on somebody and love up on somebody, please feel free to share it. And if you think you're part of my tribe, please feel free to subscribe. All right? Peace.